Welcome to episode 5 of the DraftKings Life Podcast with Jason and Meg. I'm Jason Jones, Senior Recruitment Marketing Specialist.
And I'm Meg, Talent Acquisition Associate.
We are excited to announce this week's special guest who originates from literally the other side of the world. He came to the States at the start of 2020, and he joins us from New York City. Welcome, Jake. Who are you and what do you do at DraftKings?
Hey guys, great to be with you. So my name's Jake Walsh. I joined DraftKings at the end of January in the role of Director of Reinvestment and Loyalty under the, broader analytics umbrella, reporting into Dan Malone. I think that's like the primary function of what I do, and what my broader team focuses on is working cross-functionally with business planning, media marketing, and the promotions team to ensure that there's alignment in activity and our focus, but also making sure that our spend in each vertical is A, as effective as it can be, but also B, we're providing our customers with a really exciting and relevant customer experience when they come to the DraftKings app. It's a bit of a diverse sort of portfolio in terms of what we look after and what we focus on day to day. But I guess it all comes back to driving business performance in what is really important time in the business's evolution.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you.
Super happy to have you. Like I said, thanks so much for joining, Jake. Today we will be just running through some questions to get to know more about you and your DraftKings experience. You're pretty new to the company, so I think you'll have maybe a fresh perspective, especially coming in and this kind of a time frame. So let's just start with, I guess you said how long you've been at DraftKings, but when you started and where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm from Melbourne, Australia. So for those sort of who are familiar with their geography, that's the southeast corner of Australia. I've only been here for 3 months, so still very new, and clearly, I guess, a really interesting time to pack up my life and move to the other side of the world. And the last, 6 or so weeks have been not what we all expected, but in terms of the way that the business has supported me through that, and the way that the business has, adapted and continued to perform and set ourselves up for, when, normality in the sporting calendar can resume, has really impressed me. So yeah, it's been 3 months. In a lot of ways, it's felt like, only a few days, but in a lot of ways, it's felt like it's been a really long period of time as well.
Definitely. Yeah, it's been a weird 3 months, but happy to have you on the team. So what was your interview process like going through it, I guess, from Australia and then eventually moving over to Boston? Just walk us through that.
Yeah, so initially I had a few calls via Zoom with Veronica, who looks after the CRM function at DraftKings, and we had probably 3 or 4 calls, and that was probably stretched out over maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and initially there was sort of a number of roles that I was potentially suited to, or I was exploring the opportunity of, and then coincidentally I was actually here on a holiday at the end of November or mid-November. And as part of that, I let Veronica and the team know that I was going to be in the US, and she said, "Hey, would you be interested in coming into our office and meeting a few of the guys?" And little did I know, but that turned into, a full day of meeting all sorts of people. But from that point on, that was, the moment that I realized that this is somewhere that I really wanted to be, and haven't looked back since.
No, that's great. And so given that whole experience, what drew you to the company?
Yeah, I think there's obviously 2 things. I think initially what sort of catches your attention is, and what sort of put them on my radar, is what I see externally as a customer, and what people would see, on TV and in terms of business performance. But I think from the moment that I met with the team, it was the culture that I think that came through, and it came through as a genuinely people first organization. And I know it's easy to say that, but I genuinely mean that. And it was something that I found in my previous employer, Sportsbet, back in Australia, that there was a lot of similarities in terms of that. And for me, that was certainly something that I guess, as soon as I had those initial conversations, I got a really good feeling from the people that I met with, and what they had to say about the company and where it was heading, and it was absolutely sort of aligned to where I wanted to be professionally.
Great. And then I'd love if you could just walk us through maybe a day in the life for you normally, and then maybe how that's changed during the shelter in place or quarantine order.
Yeah. Well, I guess, given I was in the office for about 6 weeks prior to all this, I probably didn't really have a normal yet, but I think, on a personal level, it probably took me a few days and probably the best part of a week, maybe even 2, to, I guess, find that sort of operating rhythm from home. But the way that the company has, I guess, supported me and how everyone else around me has adapted to, I guess, our new way of working has really helped me develop, in terms of, like, this is clearly part of my onboarding within the business, and no doubt that the absence of sort of being in the office and having that sort of one-to-one contact with people will result in it being somewhat elongated. But I think the work that we've done as a business, and in my area specifically, I think it has me feeling really confident that we'll come out of this in a great spot, and hopefully when we sort of get sports back, that we'll be ready to sort of capitalize on that opportunity.
Nice, very nice.
I think so too.
I know so. So being Jake Walsh from Melbourne, what was your career path leading up to your current role? Did you always want to live in the States but also be in quarantine in the States, or did you or did you have a different career path and something caused you to kind of go left, and here you are?
Quarantine probably not in the plan, but certainly I always did have it on my radar to make it over here and work at some point. I actually lived here for about 8 months. Back in 2013, I did a period of time at the University of Old Dominion in Virginia, so a period of schooling down there. And I always wanted to come back and work here, I guess, in a major city. New York and sort of Boston are very different to Norfolk, Virginia, that's for sure. But, my sort of previous role that sort of, I guess, led me here was, I spent the best part of 4 years working for Sportsbet, who are part of the global Flutter Entertainment Group. I love my time there, and they're clearly, a dominant player in the sports betting industry in the Australian market. And I think the thing that drew me, to this opportunity was clearly, I guess, where I believe the US market is heading from a sports betting point of view. And I probably didn't really see, I guess, a long-term professional career in sort of the world of sports betting, say probably 4 or 5 years ago. But it's such an exciting industry to be a part of. It's so fast-paced, and it's clearly given me, probably a lot of opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have had. So, very excited and happy to have ended up here. And hopefully, as sort of the industry continues to evolve across the US, DraftKings will go at a similar pace, if not faster, and some really exciting opportunities ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And then what made you interested in the industry, I guess, when you got involved back in Melbourne? And then what did you study in college? Did you know that you were interested in sports betting? Was there someone in your family that maybe, got you into it?
Well, my grandfather actually was a bookmaker way back in the day, but that probably wasn't certainly not the reason that I sort of chose to go in this path. It's more just, I guess, a coincidence more than anything. But I studied journalism at university, so effectively to what I do now, it's almost unrelated. But I think what sort of drew me in was that at the core of what we do, it's sport, right? So it's such an exciting product. No matter if you're involved, I guess, on the inside at a club level, or you're sort of in the more entertainment side of what sports betting is. It's so exciting, and to have a chance for your role to relate to what is topical and what people are talking about and what's on TV. There's definitely a level of excitement around that as well. And for me, sort of outside of my professional sort of remit, I just love sport. So it feels like a really, I guess, natural evolution for me to want to, involve that in my professional life as well.
Yeah, no, it's cool to kind of take your passion and combine it with a way of living and, working. So no, that's awesome. So what's something that stood out to you when you started at DraftKings besides how cold it was in the Northeast in January?
I moved from the sort of back end of an Australian summer into a Boston winter, which was an experience. But
Yeah,
I think thankfully
it's honestly just started snowing right now too outside of
did it really?
So
I was thinking New York was the worst.
Yeah, just as you said that.
Most people told me it was a pretty warm winter as well. So
it was actually.
It's a cold
it
one.
was.
Yeah, so yeah, there you go. I think the first thing that stood out for me, I guess, coming from a business that was solely focused on sports betting, trying to get my head around, I guess, the other verticals of DFS and iGaming. That was probably the thing that hit me initially, that this is a really complex business and it's fast paced and there are a lot of smart people that work here. And it's really clear to me that why the business is in such a great position is because of its people. But I think, the sort of diversity that exists within the DraftKings brand was the first thing that stood out to me. And that in turn creates a lot of great opportunity for sort of internal development. So that was probably the first thing that jumped out at me.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's really cool. And so how would you describe the DraftKings office? I understand that you probably spent more time at home than you did in the office, but, how would you describe the Boston office from the time that you just spent there?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I certainly something I'd never experienced in my working life. That's for sure. I think like to have an on-site barber, like nail salon. Not that I've been in there too often. And like sort of
it's a great perk. It's a great perk.
You can admit it.
Yeah, and sort of fridges and cupboards stocked with, I guess, every food and drink that you could imagine, and plenty of beers and all that kind of stuff. The perks are. Have blown me away. I didn't expect that at all, and certainly makes it pretty easy to come to work every day. That's for sure.
Definitely, I miss it. My nails missed the nail salon, and all of being around all of our friends and stuff. But great. I have one more question for you before we move on. But I'd love to hear just what's one piece of advice you have for a candidate who is looking to join DraftKings.
Yeah, as I said, I'm still pretty new to the organization, so like I think, as I said, it comes back to, I guess, the pace and the direction of the business. I think as a candidate, you've probably got to come in with a mindset of being prepared to grow and evolve and remain agile with the business, because I guess what the business looks like today is going to be very different to what it looks like in 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And that's just the pace of how things are, how fast this business is growing, but also how much the industry is changing, particularly in the sports betting, or the wider sports betting landscape. So I think coming in with a mindset that things will change, accepting that things will change is really important, and how you adapt to those is clearly going to be key to the success of not only the organization, but each sort of individual in their specific remit as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I think that is great advice. Cool. All right, now we're going to transition into our 2-minute drill section of the podcast. So we're going to ask lightning questions, basically to get to know more about you, just kind of set you apart from some people at DraftKings. So Jonesy is going to start the timer for us. Let me know when you got it going.
We are ready.
Okay, cool. So where did you go to university?
So I went to university in 2 places. So I completed my degree at La Trobe University in Melbourne, but I did an 8-month stint at the University of Old Dominion in Virginia as well. So I say La Trobe, but also had a little period of time in the US, and it was a great opportunity as well.
Nice. Favorite thing to do on the weekend?
Right now, it's probably like you always like miss what you can't have. So it's like probably just like hang out with my mates and my family and watching sport. Like it's pretty dry answer, but it's probably is my favorite thing to do on the weekend.
It's new normal.
Yeah, I know.
And what's your favorite sport to watch?
Well, like I guess in the US market, like I'm a big NBA fan, to a lesser degree, the NFL. But yeah, I love my NBA. My number one sport in the world is Australian rules football.
Okay.
So that's sort of, I guess, the NFL equivalent back home. So the Australian Football League, it's called. That's the sport I sort of grew up loving and sort of dreamed of playing. But yeah, those are probably my favorite three sports.
Nice.
Cool. Are you up early or late?
I'm an early bird. I'd say of my few good qualities that I have, I'd say my punctuality is certainly one of them.
About 25 seconds.
Do you have a skill that you would like to master?
I wish I was a better golfer than I was. My friends would laugh at that, but I wish I was.
Same. Favorite piece of clothing?
Probably like Canada Goose jacket. Moving to Boston, I needed a good jacket. I laughed at a lot of people that were wearing them, but then after a week, I was one of them.
Nice. So we're at time, but what I'm going to ask is one Australian term you can teach us.
Oh my God, the alarm gives me PTSD.
So I actually thought about this, and one that I had said to a few people, I guess in written form over Slack and things, I'd catch up with them this Arvo, and like Arvo is an abbreviated version of afternoon, and it's ARVO. I would spell it, and people literally had no idea what I was talking about. And
Arvo?
Yeah, it's a very common term in Australia, but clearly hadn't made its way over here. And people were very confused what I was saying. So that's probably one that I can give you.
I'll start using that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's funny. I would have never known. Awesome. Well, that is about it. So thank you so much for joining us today. You've been awesome. I feel like I've learned a lot more about what you do and your history of working and why you maybe decided to come over to DraftKings. So thanks.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to close out today's podcast by asking you, Jake, what's a motto or a mantra that you live by every day?
Well, I don't know if it's every day. I don't know if I live, probably not as good at living by this as maybe I should be, but I do subscribe to the philosophy that there's a reason that the front windscreen on a car is a lot bigger than the rear vision mirror, and it's important to look back and reflect on things we do, but ultimately the only thing that really matters is what's in front of you and what's next, and I guess how you sort of adapt those learnings to the next, I guess, challenge that you face in life and in work. So that's probably one for you. I've
never heard that. That's good. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, full of surprises.
Jones, you're gonna have to get it tattooed on you.
Done. As soon as quarantine is over, make an appointment. No, but Jake, thank you so much for the time today. And thank you for everyone for joining us. Make sure to follow us on all social media channels to keep up with DraftKings Life. And tune in next time. Remember, be safe, be kind, and take care.